VCU tip-off show on MASN as you're here courtside in Richmond, Virginia, getting you set for the third all-time meeting between the Navy midshipmen and the VCU Rams. TJ Wengert here to take you through all the fun of the VCU tip-off show. I want to say thank you for spending some time with us on your Wednesday night. Well, Navy, hailing from the Patriot League, preseason pick to finish 4th in the conference. They enter tonight's contest 7-4. Meanwhile, VCU on the other side 8-4. So far this season, picked to finish 3rd in the A-10 conference. Before we can get to know where these two teams are entering tonight's contest, let's take a look at where these two teams have been, starting with the visiting midshipmen. It's wins in back-to-back contests and a rather one-sided win most recently coming against Washington of Maryland, 93-54 W. Before that, a much closer affair, going to overtime with a 2-point victory over Towson. Those two wins then come off the heels of a 3-game losing streak, and before that, a 3-game win streak. And today is the final non-conference game for both sides, so this is a good chance for Navy making 3 consecutive wins, carry the momentum into Patriot League play. And on the other side for VCU, hey, they have a 3-game win streak, looking to make it W's in 4 in a row, and it's been a really clean brand of basketball of late. And we've seen VCU in that same time period get a lot of production on Jalen Deloach. We'll talk about more on him in just a moment, but also a ton of production of points in the paint. The 3-point shooting is starting to come alive in those 3 consecutive wins coming against Howard, Radford, and Northern Illinois. The Northern Illinois game, it's a 27-point game, and leads as big as 30-plus in that contest, but wins against Radford and Howard, I think, are really solid building blocks. And then Northern Illinois leads into the momentum that they're carrying tonight. And speaking of that win against Northern Illinois, we'll showcase those highlights to you now, just in case you missed that game. Kicking things off, we got to talk about Jameer Watkins. I mean, a career-best 22 points. Got to be the man we start our highlight package talking about. 3-point shot falls there. Does it on inside and outside, coast to coast. Finish with a right. A little bit later, Ace Baldwin, one of his 8 assists, lines up the 3, near side wing, rattles it through, and again, a guy who can score from the inside and out. Beautiful find from Jalen Deloach, cutting to the basket. Easy finish there for Watkins. And then we got to talk about David Shriver. How about a VCU career best 14 points for the Hartford College transfer? 3 threes made in this contest, and they were on his first 3 attempts on the night. We're showing all 3 of those trifectas to you now. And the last one comes on a feed from Jaden Nunn. He was feeling hot to start this contest. You'll see him hold the shot right here at the end of it. Yep, he was feeling good. And it goes a long way. VCU back-to-back game shooting over 40% from beyond the arc. First time they've done that all year long. And we'll finish talking about Jalen Deloach. Again, he has been phenomenal, specifically over the last 4, almost 7 rebounds per contest, 14.5 points per game. Here, low post, shades of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with a little hook, get that low, hard stop, big man. Ace Baldwin does what he does best, finds an open teammate. Nice patience, too. I think Deloach is keeping it simple, and it's really paid dividends. Doesn't try to do too much there. Waits for the defender to go up in the air, finishes, and then here, wide open underneath the basket, slam it at home. Really nice find from Jameer Watkins, and those two connect once more. Watkins dime, Deloach dunk, and 4 players into double-digit scoring against Northern Illinois for VCU. And those 4 players on your screen now, and then add in Jaden Nunn as the 5th there, but those 4 double-digit scorers being Ace Baldwin, David Shriver, Jalen Deloach, and Jameer Watkins, career best 22 for Watkins, also 8 of 12 shooting from the floor. That's fantastic. Shriver, 3 threes to start the contest. He was feeling great. And then Ace Baldwin, back-to-back game scoring 10 points, but 8 assists in this contest, 2 steals to go with it. Deloach continues to play great brand of basketball. And then when you have Jaden Nunn as this, 5th highest scorer at 8 points, that's a healthy place to find yourself if you're a VCU fan. So that's been the recent stretch for both these teams. A lot more to talk about here on the VCU Tip-Off Show. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I'll be joined by John Feinstein to dig into the X's and O's and individual player-to-player matchups. We get you set for the 3rd all-time meeting between Navy and VCU, coming to you on MASN. Welcome back inside the Siegel Center as you're watching the VCU Tip-Off Show. It's TJ Wengert alongside Washington Post columnist, best-selling author, and if you're a college basketball fan, a man who needs no introduction, John Feinstein. John, it's great to have you back here in Richmond, Virginia, and we're going to showcase, all-time series history, just the 3rd all-time meeting between these 2 squads. But I kind of ask you a 2-part question here. Last non-conference game for both sides.
Right.
How big of an impact, and what are you really looking for out of both these teams? But as you're getting ready for the broadcast today, what stood out on the page for both teams?
This is a big game for both these teams for 2 reasons. One, as you said, last game before they start conference play, VCU starts a week from Saturday against LaSalle, and Navy starts a week from Friday against Boston University. But the other thing that's really key is they're going to have a few days off after tonight. They're going to go into Christmas break. The kids are going to go home. They're going to see their families. They're going to, I hope, not think much about basketball until the 26th of December. You want to go into that break feeling good about yourself, feeling confident, feeling like, okay, we're headed in the right direction going into conference play. When I did my book on Bob Knight in Indiana, their last game before Christmas was against Iowa State, and they were supposed to have 4 days off. And the fear in that locker room at the thought of losing was palpable, because the kids all knew if they lost that game, there might not be a Christmas break. Now, these two coaches aren't going to do anything like that, but they certainly want to win.
Well, especially winter break time. Ed Nixon's talked about, a former VCU Ram. Practices in winter break time, it's 2-a-days. So
right.
It's not just, your normal practice. It's a whole nother level. But, hey, really fun matchup, and I think two really solid teams. And kind of want to start talking about Tyler Nelson, our Navy player to watch. Hey, one of the ever-impressive seniors on this roster, and a guy who has been lights out shooting team, 48.4% from three-point land.
Well, Ed DeChellis has built this program around kids getting better, because they do stay 4 years. And they do get better, and he's such a good coach. And Tyler Nelson is a perfect example of that. They graduated 3 key seniors off of last year's team, and he has been asked to step into the role as the man, much the way Ace Baldwin is the man for VCU. And he has thus far done it with a good deal of success. He's a smart, tough kid. Wow, what a surprise description of a Navy midshipman.
And it is interesting, the way of the recruiting and college career, it's a lot different, these academy schools versus one and done Kentucky and other Power 5 schools.
100% different.
Then switching sides on the other end, Jameer Watkins was fantastic on Saturday against NIU, and just another one of those names where it's like you're adding him in a mix with an Ace Baldwin and a Brandon Johns. This VCU offense is starting to take shape.
It is, and they really bottomed in that Jacksonville game a couple weeks ago, and Mike Rhodes had what he called a come to Jesus meeting with the entire team on Friday and said, it's not good enough to want to play hard. It's not good enough to want to win. You have got to do the things necessary to win, and that includes playing 40 minutes, not 32 or 36. And they've done that better and better in the last 3 games, all of which they've won. And certainly Jameer Watkins, coming off of that injury that cost him the season last year, has gotten better and better. And the 22 points against Northern Illinois were a perfect example of the progress that he's made.
And I think you've already hit on a little bit the senior class for this Navy team. In a lot of ways, it's the engine of the entire team. Seniors alone averaging more than 50 points per contest. The other 3 years of classes, less than 30 at contest. Look at VC on the other side. It's a young team. Jameer Watkins, sophomore. Jalen Deloach, sophomore. Even Ace Baldwin, hey, he's the man. He's the leader.
He's a junior, right.
So, kind of compare and contrast two very different situations for these two teams.
Well, there's no question, and you made the point earlier about the difference between an academy school and a civilian school, as they call them at academy schools, because you do have one and dones. You don't have transfers at the academies, because if you transfer in, you got to go back and be a freshman, even if you're a junior or senior. So that's why I said they look to their seniors to improve. They've got 2 more seniors on this team who have not yet played very much, who missed last season. So Ed DeChellis is hoping by the time they get into conference play that they will have 5 effective seniors on this team.
I think there's 2 other areas of a major difference between these two sides. Let's start with the three-point shooting. It's a Navy team averaging almost 10 trifectas a game. That's currently 26th in the country, so right outside that top 25 mark. It'd be the first time since 2011 they finished the year in the top 100, which, Coach DeChellis, that's a big part of the offense. This is the year with the most, or the highest percentage of field goals made being three-point, shots during his tenure. So that's compared to a VCU team that it's had games where it's come and gone. But the good news is if you're a VCU fan, 2 straight games shooting over 40% from beyond the arc. So what are you looking for when it comes to three-point shooting?
First of all, with VCU, if I'm scouting VCU and I'm getting ready to play against them, I want them shooting threes because they're so tough in the lane. And when Ace Baldwin gets in the lane and can create for his teammates, that's when VCU is at its best. So if they want to jack up three-point shots, and I talked to Mike Rhodes about not taking quick threes, letting the ball touch the paint and then get it back out, and if there's an open three, take it. Now, Navy, on the other hand, they don't have the size to dominate inside. They have to make threes in order to be successful. And I said to Ed DeChellis, this is you've got a bunch of guys who can score on this team. He said, no, we've got a bunch of guys that can shoot. And there is a difference because they don't get to the foul line much because they don't get the ball inside. But they can make shots. You cannot give them open shots.
And you even see that with Daniel DeVere. It's not often that one of your tallest players on roster is also your team leader in assists per games. They work that
very
inside
good
out
passer.
game. And as much as the three-point shooting is maybe a big difference, free throw game of these two teams is as stark a difference as there is maybe in the country. VCU top 3 in the nation in free throw attempts, top 5 in free throws made per game. Navy's last in each of those in the entire country. They are 352 of 352. So what type of an impact do you think that makes tonight?
Well, and especially down the stretch, if it's a close game, it could have a huge impact. VCU has been better shooting free throws this year than any time since Mike Rhodes got here, and they have been getting to the line. One of the stats that coaches look at all the time, if you're going to be successful, if a team makes more free throws than the opponent is shooting, you're likely to be successful. VCU has done that thus far this season in their first 12 games. Navy just struggles to get to the line, and that's because they don't have great size. They're not that big. They're not that bulky. You can't be that bulky to be a midshipman. And so they're going to have to make threes, and they're going to have to not turn the ball over to have a chance to win this game. They've beaten some good teams. They beat Towson at Towson. Towson is probably favored to win the CAA, and they beat Princeton. So that tells you that they're good.
Well, overtime to beat Towson, and even as this game goes on and gets towards the end, it'd be interesting to see the fatigue factor, right? Christmas on the mind, everyone's trying to get to that break, but you've had a long non-conference stretch to get to this point, so free throws are a great chance to kind of catch your breath, reset, collect, chill out on the legs too. But last thing I want to ask you, John, I've been asking Ed, he's been on the money 2 times in a row, so a little bit of
I'll be
pressure
wrong,
on you.
okay.
No, you're going to do great. What's the one stat at the end of this game you think that was the difference? That's the one thing we're going to circle in the box.
Oh, turnovers on both sides. VCU has had a problem with turnovers all year. They can't afford to not get shots up. And we all know in this building, if you're the visitor, you give up live ball turnovers to VCU, you're going down.
And I mean, I think assist to turnover ratio backs that up. Navy second in the Patriot League in that stat, 1.3 assist to turnover ratio. VCU's last in the A10 at 0.65. So I think you're on the money there, being able to move the ball around but also limit those turnovers. John, thanks so much for joining me. It's going to be John Robertson doing the play-by-play and John Feinstein, the one and the only, on the color tonight. Appreciate you joining us.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
And happy holidays.
And happy Festivus.
Absolutely. We'll be back with more here on the VCU Tip-Off Show. You're watching the VCU Tip-Off Show, and we want to thank Charlie's Cheesesteaks of West Broad Street for providing the TV crew with dinner for tonight's game. If you need fantastic sandwiches and or chicken wings for your next event, check out charlies.com. And I said this last time too. Hey, be careful. It's so good you'll find a way to want it each and every time you're in downtown Richmond. Charlie's Cheesesteaks do a fantastic job. I need to build up the strength, try to eat some wings pregame and not get it on my shirt, but I can't recommend those cheesesteaks enough. But hey, as we were just talking about with John Feinstein, holiday season here in Richmond, Virginia, and let's showcase just one of the many ways it has been felt on the VCU campus. Back inside the Siegel Center, we're getting set for the third all-time meeting between VCU and Navy, also the final non-conference game for both sides. We've highlighted a ton of different players, stats, matchups, all those. But now I'm going to call on some help, ask Robbie Robinson and Rodney Ashby to tell you what's at stake.
Hey, happy holidays, Ram Nation. Along with Rodney Ashby from Rams Unlimited on the radio, I'm Robbie Robinson, and this is a Roost Chris Steakhouse What's at Stake. It's an exciting night here at the Siegel Center as the Navy midshipmen come a-calling on this Wednesday night. The Rams are riding a 3-game winning streak taking on Navy. So Rodney, I ask you this, what is at stake for VCU tonight taking on this great service academy from Annapolis?
Well, you just mentioned it, a 3-game win streak, but what an opportunity to have a 4-game win streak going into conference play. This is the last non-conference game and an opportunity to solidify our rotations and our fluidness on offense in order to show what we can do in the league.
All right, a win tonight would give the Rams a 9-4 record after their first 13 games heading into the conference season. If you're Mike Rhodes and you're looking at this down the line, what do you really want to see your team do tonight? What specifically would you like to see them improve upon to get some momentum going into the LaSalle game?
Well, we started the last game. We started taking care of the ball a little bit better. We have to continue to take care of the ball. The second thing is, let's take the shots that we want to take, not the ones that the other team wants us to take. That Coach Rhodes says that's the difference between taking a good shot and a great shot. We need to continue to do those things, plus continue to pound the boards, and the Rams will look good in this game tonight.
All right, Navy has consistently in years past been able to hit three-pointers. Rams are usually phenomenal at guarding the three-point line. This year it's been a work in progress, but I know Coach Rhodes likes the way they're projecting. Do they have to do it again tonight against this Navy team?
Absolutely. They shoot almost 40% from the three-point line. We're going to have to run them off the line without fouling. The last couple of games, we've had at least one foul on a three-pointer. We can't give up those points, not only tonight, but also in league play.
All right, Ram Nation, should be a very festive atmosphere here at the Siegel Center as the midshipmen are in town to take on the Rams. For Rodney Ashby, I'm Robbie Robinson. This has been a Roost Chris Steakhouse What's at Stake. Everybody, have a great holiday season and enjoy the game.
Thanks as always to Robbie and Rodney. They'll have the radio call on 910 The Fan and on the TV call on MASN as well as ESPN Plus with Sean Robertson and then the great John Feinstein. We have starting fives for both sides as you again see the all-time series history. In the starting five for Ed DeChellis, Austin Benini, Sean Yoder, Tyler Nelson, our Navy player to watch, Christian Jones, and Daniel DeVere, the big who could do it both as a passer but also as a scorer, also top 10 in the Patriot League in offensive rebounds per game. On the other side for VCU, Jameer Watkins, redshirt sophomore coming off a career best 22 against Northern Illinois. Ace Baldwin, double digits in each of his last two. Jalen Deloach, Jaded Nunn, and Brandon Johns. We got about 60 seconds before I part ways. This has been the VCU Tip-Off Show. Some final things to talk about. These two teams have very distinct, contrasting strengths. You know, Navy plays like a team that's led by a coach who's been doing it for 41 years at the collegiate level, and a team that has a bunch of seniors who are the engine of the offense and the team in and of itself. The three-point shooting, almost 10 trifectas a game. They got to get to the free throw line. Currently last in the country in free throws attempts and free throw makes per game. That's got to change. Also, they got to continue to be clinical with the basketball, have a high assist-to-turnover ratio. It is a must against this VCU defense that currently still first in the A-10. Nearly 18 turnovers forced per game, but VCU's got to continue their hot shooting from beyond the arc, and they got to continue to get to the free throw line like they have all year long. That's going to do it for the VCU Tip-Off Show. Sean Robertson, John Feinstein taking you through on the call. You're watching MASN.